Hello, hello. Welcome back to Papa's Archives, where I tell stories I want to tell my kids, but maybe not at the dinner table. Maybe I just don't have time. Maybe I want to keep it simple. Maybe I want to keep it deep. Whatever the reason is. Today's content is I could talk about at the dinner table on becoming a parent. Because yesterday was all about having kids and falling in love and getting married and having kids, and so today is going to be about becoming a parent. That's kind of the theme this week, I think. Some of this stuff I have said to my kids because I want them to know how I feel about them. But having kids changes you. If I had to sum it up in one line, I would quote Jack Nicholson when he is trying to compliment Helen Hunt, when he compliments Helen Hunt in the movie As Good As It Gets. To put it into context a little bit, he had obsessive compulsive disorder, which means he's always trying to do things perfectly. And he repeats things. He can't step on cracks. He has to wash his hands for 30 seconds. He's OCD. And he's trying to date Helen Hunt, this female character, and she's angry that he's always thinking about himself and trying to take care of himself. And she's like, when I come back to this table, I want you to give me a compliment. And she leaves the table and she comes back and he says, you make me want to be a better person. And I think parenting kind of, if I had to sum it up, I would use that line. Thank you, Jack. Because that's all that parenting, like the moment that my first daughter was born, all I've wanted to do is become a better man. That's all it is. And then a few years go on, just to jump ahead a little bit, and you realize your kids are copying you. It's like, oh, whoa, slow down. Why are you doing exactly what I do? And that makes you want to be a better person. But like the first day I had to go back to work after my daughter was born was so easy going to work. I was a high school teacher, and I was a high school teacher for like 15 years. But this was 2009, so I had been a high school teacher for about 5 years at this point. And being a high school teacher was never my dream. I never was like, I'm going to be a high school teacher, yay! I never said that. It was just like, okay, I need a job, I'll take that. And I enjoy being in the classroom and so forth, but it was never a dream move for me. So it was hard to find happiness in that career. And as soon as my daughter was born, I was walking to work that day and I was like, this is so easy. I don't care about what job I have. It doesn't even matter. I have more important things at home to contend with that are making up my life, and my life is no longer about my career. So that was an instant shift. And I didn't realize it until I was walking to work. I didn't think about that when I was holding my daughter for the first time. I didn't think how irrelevant my career was anymore. It was when I was alone and walking to work and I was like, haha, this is so easy. I don't care what job I'm going to right now. So that was interesting. That was fun. That was a relief. Like, oh, thank God. And I sometimes forget that. I have to kind of reflect on that sometimes. But yeah, that was a huge shift right from the beginning. And then, the kids get older, they start crawling and they start copying you, and you realize like they kind of copy everything you do. So then it's like, okay, now I got to start speaking appropriately. That's obvious. And when they get even older, I would say things to my kids, and as I said them, I would hear my father saying it to me 45 years ago. Like, careful with that knife. Just something like that. Just random things that, oh, don't do random little pieces of it, like daily advice. Like, don't do that, or don't run down the stairs. Stuff like that. Like, I would hear my father say it to me the moment it came out my mouth, and I was like, oh, I'm becoming my father. Which means he probably said the same thing his father said to him. So this probably just goes back throughout eternity. And that was really fun to realize. I still see it today. Like, I'm 48 next month. 40. How old am I? What year is it? 2022? I think I'm 47 next month. Sorry, I just forget. Because my dad said the same. Oh, I'm gonna cry now because that was hilarious. When my dad was my age, I remember I was 16, 17 in high school, and he was going through some of the same career struggles that I'm going through right now. In 2019, you guys know I lost my life savings in my career with trying to bring the X Games to Japan, which was successful in the end, but it didn't come without a cost. And I'll get to that another day. That's a whole topic that I want to talk about. But so my dad was going through that was a recession. The first Bush administration recession, in the late 80s, early 90s, 92 basically, 91, 92, when he got laid off and the family was struggling financially. And I was kind of thinking recently when I went through this process, like, yeah, my dad had the exact same thing happen to him at the exact same age. And it's interesting how much we mimic our parents when we become parents. That's really interesting to me, because I say things, I hear my father saying it to me, it's like, my dad did this to me, my parents did this, and you start doing all the things that your parents did for you, whether it's language or the way you interact, how you discipline. And then there's the stuff, it's like, well, my parents never provided this for me, so I want to ensure that I provide that for them. So it's like you want to give the things that you didn't get as a kid. So there's that too. But basically you're copying your parents, because that's your model. That's what you have. That's all you know. And it's like, my parents did this and that was the right thing to do, so I'm going to do that too. Which means everything you're doing for your kids is going to be mimicked in the future. So that's why it just makes you want to be a better person. So I got to do a better job at this. It's helped me just get healthy. I don't go to the bars anymore. I mean, I was never a huge bar guy anyway, but I liked Friday nights at the bar with my friends, for sure, like anybody. But, you know, in your 20s, you kind of party a lot, maybe your 30s. Some people just kind of keep going, and most people kind of outgrow it, just in general. But a big part of that was when, you know, I've been hungover like twice with kids, because there's nothing. My 2-year-old wanted to play and I was hungover, and I was like, I'm never gonna do this again. This is horrible. And people say, you know, I don't have time for that, I have kids. Yeah, that's not really what they mean. They just mean they don't want to feel like an asshole. Yeah, I don't want to do that anymore. And then there's getting healthy, like lifting and weight training, because my daughter, I'm setting the example for who my daughter is going to date. And by the way, you can bring him home to me as long as he's better than me. Sorry, my dad said that to my sister. So there's that setting the example for her, because a daughter's first love is her father. So she's gonna find a guy that but behaves, acts, and is like me. So I have to set that example, right? The boys, obviously, they think I'm the coolest guy in the world, which is heartbreaking because I'm not. They'll discover one day, like, hey, wait a minute, Dad's kind of an idiot. That'll be fun. But in the meantime, you know, everything I do, I come home from work, when I do stuff at home, build stuff, work on stuff, cutting firewood, building furniture, whatever I'm doing around the house, they're going to be doing that when they get older. They're going to copy everything I do. And that's the gist of it, basically. The hardest part is not pushing my dreams on them, because I'm a big dreamer. I pushed hard for my stuff, and you know, you can't pull everything off. And everybody wants their kids to have the life that they didn't have. Basically, that's the goal, right? So it's really hard to not convince my kids they should be pro skiers. It's actually pretty easy to not do that because it was so hard. But it's hard to not be a helicopter parent. It's hard to give them freedom to go out and make mistakes, because, like, I don't want them to make mistakes in which they get injured, of course. So when they're using saws and axes and stuff, like, I'm going to be there for coaching them for that stuff. But when I see my kid, like my son, Eli, when he was younger, 2nd, 3rd grade, didn't have many friends because of just the way the school schedule was, and wasn't very active in the neighborhood. And I would see him kind of lonely, and it made me feel kind of bummed out. Like, how can I fix that? And I had to kind of tell myself, like, Nathan, this isn't your job to fix that. He has to find his way into his community. And if you take that opportunity from him, he's not going to learn how to do that in the future. So there's stuff like that where it's like, I want to be an active parent, but it's like, if you do that too much, you're going to take away their ability to learn how to do that on their own. And that's where the term helicopter parent comes in. It's just, you're just doing it too much. You're parenting too much. Lay off. So that's really hard to balance, because you hate to see your kids fail. That's the hardest thing in the world, is to see them fail. And you just want to you know, give them what they need so they can pull it off, whatever they're trying to do. Well, what they need you to do right now is shut up and not be part of this process. An example of that is my daughter's, Ellie's, chemistry passion. When she was 12, she's 13 now, but last year when she was 12, she got into a STEM program, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. That's just an academic way of saying, we're teaching stuff. I'm sorry, I'm a teacher, so I'm kind of cynical sometimes. But the STEM stuff, she got into a junior master's program at the university for STEM topics. And it was like every Saturday or 2 Saturdays a month at the university. There was 40 kids that got into it. They had to go through an interview process and be selected to get into it, because enrollment was limited and everybody wanted into it. And I think it was the second year going, maybe not the second, but it definitely wasn't the first, because now they had to have, it became popular, so they had to have a interview process and testing to get into this program, which is funded by government grants. And she got into it, and that was cool, and that was awesome. But then at the end of that, this is what I'm trying to get to. At the end of that, they give presentations about what they want to study in the junior doctor's program, which is a 3-year program. And only 8 kids get into it. And she had to give a presentation about what she wanted to study. Basically, she's pitching a university for grant money for a mentor at the university. And I asked her, what topic do you want to present? And she's like, chemistry. She was 12. And it's like, I wasn't introduced to chemistry until I was like 16 in high school. And I got an award for chemistry from California State for my chemistry. My national chemistry exam score was high. I aced the test, and my dad was so proud of me. And I was like, what? It's like, you just gotta memorize stuff. I've always been that way. So anyway, she chose chemistry, and then she said I have to make a PowerPoint presentation to present to the panel to try to get this grant money. And I was like, oh, I make presentations for a living. I help at that university. I help those doctors present their research on a global stage. Like, I can help you with this. And she's like, nope. I was like, what do you mean? I want to help you with, let me help you shape this presentation. Nope. And she wouldn't let me in, and that kind of right away I was like, okay, Nathan, back off. She's already doing her own thing. Don't helicopter parent on this. And both Akko and I agreed to not hover over her and try to correct this for her. Just if she fails, she fails. Like, she has to learn on her own, right? So we backed off, and it took a few weeks for her to create that. And one Saturday morning at 7 a.m. I come downstairs. 7 a.m. is sleeping in. I come downstairs, and she's on the couch with reading a chemistry book. I was like, what are you reading? Oh, some chemistry thing. And she got super into chemistry. She still is. And that was more enforcement to me, like, Nathan, don't get involved. Don't talk to her about chemistry. Let her just do it. That's her own thing. So her presentation to the panel, to the university, was Akko and I, she was on a Zoom call because it's Corona times. And so she's in my office, and we close the door, and Akko and I are sitting outside the door with our ears to the door, listening to her talk about this presentation. And she's like, I would like to study the relationship between CO2 and the pH of different solvents to better understand the technology that's being proposed to clean the atmosphere on Mars to make it livable, habitable. And if I understand that technology and how they got to version 1 of that technology, then I can help improve on version 2 of that technology. And Akko and I are just like, what did you just say? And they're like, okay, you're in. They didn't say it like that, but like, she got in. And now she has her own graduate student mentor at the university, one-on-one, for 3 years. Each year is a different graduate student. And she has full access to the lab, full funding for whatever she wants to study. And it's just like one Saturday a month, but the project is much bigger now. There's a lot of home research to do and stuff. But yeah, don't helicopter parent your kids, dude. Stay out of their way. And same thing with Eli. He's huge into building things. He just wants to. He'll be like, I want to build a sword today, Nathan, or Papa. Nathan, can I use whatever wood? I'm like, yeah. And then he'll be like, can you help me cut something with the power saw? So I'll help him with that real quick and get it done. And then I'll see him like piecing things together, and like I know that's not going to work. But I know that if I tell him it's not going to work, he's not going to learn why it doesn't work. So I need him to fail with that. And as a result of not getting involved, he has a collection of like 12 wooden katanas now. He has a sword collection in his room with like a rack to store them and display them because he's so proud of them. Wooden swords and cases and sheaths that they slide into, and like everything fits perfectly, and it's like, it's nuts. It's super artistic and creative and awesome, and I believe that exists because I didn't get in his way. So parenting, it's hard because not being involved is hard. It's like you want to set the example, and at the same time you want to shut up. So it's kind of like I find myself doing my own thing a lot at home, and kind of setting the example, and then when they start doing something, you know, if they ask questions or something, of course I want to get involved, but I really find that it's hard to resist showing them something I know the answer to. And as a high school teacher, I'm not a high school teacher anymore, but I kind of feel like it's kind of in my blood at this point, where I'm always modeling for students. It's hard to not give the answer sometimes. It's always hard not to give the answer. And for that, just that quick link real quick, I think every parent in this world should spend time in a classroom. Like significant time in a classroom, either teaching or assisting teaching, to watch. Because I can walk into a classroom and I can say, there's 30 high school kids. I can tell you that kid over there doesn't have a father at home. That's crystal clear. Oh, that kid over there, no interaction with his parents at all. That kid over there gets read to every night. Like, it's just like, it's glowing to me how these different kids are raised, how active their parents are. I have this poor kid. I work now out at these 3 schools, as well as a few hospitals. That's my second job. But I'm working kind of as a teacher's consultant. A lot of young teachers are trying to teach English for their first time, and they're like 25, and they never had English in school. And I go there and I help them with curriculum design and stuff like that. And they just want to provide the answer all the time. So I have to help them design curriculum that gets the students trying to figure things out on their own. And it took me years to get there. Parenting brought me to this, helped me get to this point of understanding. I mean, I studied learning theory in graduate school, but I didn't learn it until I applied it to my own kids and watched them go through it. And that really shaped my curriculum design choices now. So, again, I can walk into a classroom and just kind of know right away. And I want to talk about this one little boy, 2 kids, a few of them now that I think about it. Something about this neighborhood, this town. How are siblings autistic? Like, it's one thing to meet an autistic person. I've met many. And you just think, oh, Asperger's, autism, you just kind of, that's the thing. But then when you meet their brother and they're autistic too, you're like, wait a minute. How is that? Where's this coming from? I have a few siblings, like groups of siblings that are all autistic in this town. It's wild. But one boy, I haven't asked if he's on the spectrum yet or not. I don't think he is. I think he just has this home environment that's lacking. Because the other day we were talking about our father's and mother's names, and the teacher was asking them, what's your father's name? What's your father? To all these different students, and we got to this boy. We're like, oh, what's your father's name? And he kind of sat there like, huh? And he's like, I don't remember. And all the other students started laughing at him. And I was like, oh boy, brutal to be laughed at right now. And yesterday I saw him again. This was 2 days ago. And yesterday I saw him again in the gym, and he was kind of alone. All the kids were doing gymnastic stuff, and he was kind of just alone, kind of playing with his shirt, nervous. So I started chatting to him a little bit, asking him what he had for breakfast and dinner and stuff like that. I ask questions like that to kind of get a general idea of what their home life is like. And he listed some healthy food, so I could tell, okay, he's got food at home. And I asked him what his mom's. I asked him how many kids were in his family, and he had a family of 7, so 5 kids. And then I was like, oh, what's your sister's name? And he's like, I don't remember. Okay, you don't remember anybody's name in your family. So there's something else going on here. I don't think that's parenting. Because it sounds like he's got a healthy problem. But I'm kind of going on a tangent right now. Yeah, let's cut it out then. If I'm on a ranch like that, not really about parenting anymore. I guess I'm done. Yep. Trying to think, do I have anything else to say about becoming a parent? Probably. I could probably go on for hours. But I think I'm gonna start talking in circles here at this point. So I'll let you go before the storm gets too snowy here, and I gotta concentrate on driving anyway. Thank you for watching Papa's Archives, where I tell stories I want to tell my kids, but maybe not at the dinner table. Today is probably a family talk anyway, but that's important too. See you.